Did you know that in some parts of California, families are now spending over 50% of their income just to keep a roof over their heads? And here's the shocking part. Millions of full-time workers still can't afford a basic lifestyle. How is it possible? People are struggling just to survive. Something isn't adding up, and most people aren't talking about it. Everyday essentials like rent, groceries, fuel, and utilities are rising faster than incomes. Studies and economic reports show a growing gap between what people earn and what they actually need to live. Even professionals with stable jobs are feeling the pressure. It's no longer about saving money. So what's really going on in California? Why are so many people quietly leaving, while others feel completely stuck? In this video, we'll uncover 10 powerful signs that reveal why the dream is slipping away, and what it means for the future. Number 1. Housing prices that keep breaking records. One of the biggest reasons Californians are struggling today comes down to one word: housing. Over the past decade, home prices and rents have climbed to levels that feel almost unreal. In many cities, even a small apartment can cost more than what an average family earns in a month. According to multiple housing reports and market studies, California consistently ranks among the most expensive places to live in the entire country, and the gap is still growing. But what makes this situation even more alarming is that it's no longer just a problem for low-income households. Even people with stable, well-paying jobs are finding it difficult to afford a home. Teachers, nurses, and office workers, people who were once considered financially secure, are now being pushed to the edge. Imagine working full-time, doing everything right, and still feeling like homeownership is out of reach. That's the reality for millions. The problem is driven by a mix of factors: limited housing supply, rising demand, strict regulations, and increasing construction costs. New homes aren't being built fast enough, while more people continue to compete for the same limited spaces. As a result, prices keep climbing, and renters are left with fewer affordable options. So what can people actually do? Some are moving to smaller cities, sharing housing with others, or even leaving the state entirely. But for those who stay, it often means sacrificing comfort, savings, and long-term stability just to keep a place to live. And that's where the real concern begins, because when housing becomes this expensive, it affects everything else in life. We put serious effort into uncovering truths like this, so tell us honestly, is housing still affordable where you live, or is it getting out of control too? Drop your thoughts below. And if you want more real, eye-opening content like this, hit subscribe. It's just one click, but it means everything to us. Number 2. Cost of living outpacing salaries. Another major reason why life in California is becoming harder is the growing gap between what people earn and what they actually need to survive. On paper, salaries may look higher compared to other states, but in reality, they're simply not keeping up with the rising cost of everyday life. Studies and economic reports consistently show that while wages have increased slightly, the cost of essentials has increased much faster. Think about it. Groceries cost more, fuel prices keep rising, healthcare is expensive, and even basic services are becoming harder to afford. Now imagine your income only goes up a little each year, but your expenses jump significantly. Over time, that gap becomes impossible to ignore. This is what many experts call a cost of living crisis, and it's hitting Californians harder than ever. What makes this even more frustrating is that many people feel like they're stuck. They're working longer hours, taking on extra jobs, and still struggling to stay afloat. It's no longer about improving your lifestyle, it's about maintaining it. And for some families, even that is becoming a challenge. Saving money, investing, or planning for the future. Those things are slowly turning into luxuries. So what can be done? Some people try strict budgeting, cutting back on spending, or finding side income. But the truth is, when the system itself is unbalanced, personal effort alone isn't always enough. And that's why more and more people are starting to question whether staying in California is even worth it anymore. Number 3. The hidden tax burden. Beyond rent and daily expenses, there's another pressure that many people don't fully notice at first, but they definitely feel it over time: hidden taxes. California is known for having some of the highest tax rates in the country, but what really impacts everyday life are the smaller, less obvious costs that quietly add up. It's not just income tax. It's sales tax on almost everything you buy, higher fuel taxes, utility surcharges, and fees built into services you use every day. You might not think about it when you swipe your card, but each transaction takes a little more out of your pocket than expected. Over weeks and months, these extra costs can significantly reduce your spending power. For example, fuel prices in California are often much higher due to added environmental and state taxes. That means even commuting to work becomes more expensive. Utility bills can also include additional charges tied to infrastructure and policy costs. And when you combine all these with already high living expenses, the pressure becomes overwhelming. What makes this even more frustrating is that many people feel like their income looks decent on paper, but after taxes and hidden costs, what's left is far less than expected. It creates a constant feeling of, where did my money go? Even careful budgeting can't fully protect against these ongoing deductions. So what can people do? Some try to track every expense, cut unnecessary spending, or find tax-saving strategies. But the bigger issue is systemic. These costs are built into the environment itself. And until that changes, many residents will continue to feel financially squeezed, no matter how hard they work. Number 4. Mass exodus of residents. One of the clearest signs that something isn't right is the growing mass exodus from California. Over the past few years, data and moving trends have shown that thousands of residents are leaving the state every month. And these aren't just retirees or people looking for a change. They're working families, young professionals, and even business owners who once believed California was the land of opportunity. So why are so many people choosing to leave? The answer comes down to a combination of factors: high housing costs, rising taxes, expensive daily life, and declining affordability overall. For many, it's no longer about preference. It's about survival. When people realize they can get a larger home, lower taxes, and a more stable lifestyle in another state, the decision becomes easier. What's interesting is that many of these people aren't just moving randomly. They're heading to states like Texas, Arizona, and Florida, places where the cost of living is significantly lower. In some cases, families report saving thousands of dollars each year after relocating. That kind of financial relief is hard to ignore. But this shift comes with consequences. As more people leave, communities begin to change. Local businesses lose customers, neighborhoods lose long-time residents, and the overall economic balance starts to shift. It creates a ripple effect that impacts everyone, those who leave and those who stay behind. The bigger question is, what happens if this trend continues? If more people keep leaving, it could reshape the future of California in ways no one expected. And for those still living there, it raises a difficult decision: stay and struggle, or leave and start over somewhere new. Number 5. Homelessness crisis growing rapidly. Another deeply concerning sign is the rise of homelessness across California. Over the years, the number of people without stable housing has increased significantly, and it's no longer limited to isolated areas. From major cities to smaller communities, the crisis is becoming more visible and more complex. What makes this situation especially alarming is that homelessness today doesn't always look the way people expect. It's not just individuals on the streets. In many cases, it includes working people, families, and even children who simply can't afford rent anymore. Rising housing costs, job instability, and unexpected expenses can push people into situations they never imagined. Studies and reports suggest that California has one of the highest homeless populations in the country. But beyond the numbers, the human impact is what truly stands out. People are living in cars, temporary shelters, or moving from place to place just to survive. For many, it starts with a missed payment or a sudden financial setback, and quickly spirals into something much harder to recover from. There are also broader factors at play, including mental health challenges, lack of affordable housing, and limited support systems. While efforts are being made to address the issue, the scale of the problem continues to grow faster than solutions can keep up. So what does this mean for everyday residents? It creates a sense of uncertainty. If housing is this unstable and safety nets are stretched thin, anyone could be just one crisis away from facing similar struggles. And that's what makes this issue more than just a statistic. It's a reality that reflects how fragile the system has become. Number 6. Energy and utility costs surging. Another pressure that's quietly draining people's budgets is the sharp rise in energy and utility costs. For many Californians, opening a monthly bill has become a stressful moment. Electricity, gas, and water prices have all been climbing, and in some cases, much faster than expected. So what's causing this surge? Experts point to a mix of factors, including aging infrastructure, increasing demand, environmental regulations, and the push toward cleaner energy sources. While these long-term goals may be important, the short-term impact is hitting households hard. Higher production and maintenance costs are often passed directly to consumers, making everyday living more expensive. During extreme weather, whether it's heat waves or colder months, these costs can skyrocket even further. Families are forced to choose between comfort and affordability. Running air conditioning in the summer or heating in the winter is no longer a simple decision. It's a financial calculation. What makes it more frustrating is that these are essential services. Unlike entertainment or luxury spending, you can't just cut electricity or water out of your life. People try to adapt by using less energy, switching appliances, or adjusting their routines, but there's only so much you can reduce before it starts affecting your quality of life. For many households, utility bills are becoming one of the fastest-growing monthly expenses, right alongside rent. And when combined with other rising costs, it creates a situation where even small increases can push budgets over the edge. This raises a bigger concern. If basic necessities like energy are becoming harder to afford, what does that mean for long-term stability? It's yet another sign that the financial pressure in California is not only growing, but spreading into every part of daily life. Number 7. Insurance becoming unaffordable. Another growing problem that many Californians didn't see coming is the rising cost, and in some cases, the complete loss of insurance coverage. Home insurance, in particular, has become increasingly difficult to afford, especially in areas prone to wildfires and natural risks. What used to be a basic safety net is now turning into a major financial burden. Over the past few years, several insurance companies have either raised their premiums significantly or stopped offering coverage in certain regions altogether.
Why?
Because the risks have increased. Wildfires, climate-related damage, and high rebuilding costs have made it more expensive for insurers to operate. As a result, they pass those costs onto homeowners, or pull out completely. For residents, this creates a stressful and uncertain situation. Imagine owning a home, but struggling to find a company willing to insure it, or being forced to pay extremely high premiums just to stay protected. In some cases, people are left with limited options, relying on expensive state-backed programs or going without proper coverage altogether. This doesn't just affect homeowners. Renters can also feel the impact through higher rental costs, as landlords pass on increased insurance expenses. It becomes a chain reaction where everyone ends up paying more. The real issue here is financial vulnerability. Insurance is supposed to provide security and peace of mind. But when it becomes unaffordable, that sense of protection disappears. People are left exposed, knowing that one unexpected event, like a fire or disaster, could lead to massive financial loss. And that's what makes this trend so alarming. It's not just about rising costs, it's about losing a key layer of stability in an already expensive environment. When even protection becomes a luxury, it's a clear sign that something deeper is going wrong. Number 8. Small businesses are quietly disappearing. Another powerful sign that something is changing in California is the steady decline of small businesses. These local shops, family-owned restaurants, and neighborhood services are the heart of any community, but many of them are now struggling to survive. And in some areas, they're disappearing faster than ever. The reasons behind this are complex but deeply connected to rising costs. Business owners are dealing with high commercial rents, increased wages, stricter regulations, and rising utility expenses, all at the same time. On top of that, competition from large corporations and online platforms makes it even harder for smaller businesses to stay profitable. Imagine running a small cafe or store where your rent increases every year, your supply costs go up, and customer spending starts to drop because people themselves are struggling. At some point, no matter how passionate you are, the numbers just don't work anymore. And that's when many owners are forced to make the difficult decision to shut down. You may have already noticed it: empty storefronts, for lease signs, or your favorite local spot suddenly gone. These aren't isolated cases, they're part of a larger pattern. Studies and economic reports have shown a growing decline in small business activity in certain areas, especially where costs are highest. This has a ripple effect. When small businesses close, communities lose more than just services. They lose jobs, character, and connection. It changes the entire feel of a neighborhood. And for residents, it means fewer choices, higher prices, and a less vibrant local economy. So the question is, if small businesses can't survive in this environment, what does that say about the future? It's another clear signal that the system is becoming harder not just for individuals, but for the backbone of local communities. Think about your area. Have you seen local shops closing down, or are they still surviving strong? Tell us your experience below. And if you believe these stories need to be told, subscribe now. It's just one click, but it keeps us bringing you real content. Number 9. Debt is quietly exploding. One of the most overlooked warning signs is the rapid rise of personal debt. On the surface, everything might look normal. People are still shopping, paying bills, and maintaining their lifestyle. But behind the scenes, a growing number of Californians are relying on credit cards, loans, and borrowed money just to keep up. This isn't about luxury spending anymore. For many households, debt is being used to cover basic necessities, groceries, rent, fuel, and even utility bills. When income falls short and expenses keep rising, people turn to credit as a temporary solution. But over time, that temporary fix becomes a long-term burden. Financial studies have shown increasing levels of credit card debt and rising interest payments, especially in high-cost states like California. And here's where the real problem begins. Once interest starts stacking up, it becomes much harder to escape. A small balance can quickly grow into something overwhelming, trapping people in a cycle of payments that never seem to end. What makes this situation dangerous is how silent it is. Unlike visible issues like homelessness or business closures, debt is often hidden. People don't talk about it openly. But it affects mental health, financial stability, and future opportunities. Saving money, buying a home, or even planning for retirement becomes nearly impossible when you're constantly paying off past expenses. So what can be done? Some try to cut back, consolidate loans, or increase income, but when the cost of living remains high, it's an uphill battle. And that's why this trend is so concerning. It shows that for many people, survival isn't being funded by income anymore, it's being funded by debt. Number 10. The American dream is quietly fading. When you bring all these factors together, housing costs, rising expenses, taxes, debt, and financial pressure, a bigger picture starts to emerge. For many Californians, the idea of the American dream is no longer something within reach. It's slowly becoming something people talk about in the past, rather than something they can realistically achieve. Traditionally, the dream was simple: work hard, earn a stable income, buy a home, and build a secure future. But today, even people who follow that path are finding it harder to succeed. Owning a home feels impossible, saving money feels out of reach, and long-term stability feels uncertain. Instead of moving forward, many feel like they're just trying to stay afloat. What makes this shift so powerful is that it's not just financial, it's emotional. People are losing confidence in the system. When effort no longer guarantees progress, it creates frustration, stress, and doubt about the future. Younger generations, in particular, are starting to question whether the traditional path still works at all. You can see it in everyday choices. More people are delaying major life decisions, like buying homes, starting families, or investing in the future. Others are redefining success entirely, focusing on survival and flexibility rather than long-term goals. The mindset is changing, and that says a lot about the environment people are living in. So the real question is, has the dream changed, or is it slipping away completely? For some, it's about adapting and finding new opportunities. But for many, it feels like the system itself is no longer designed to support the path they were promised. And that's perhaps the most important sign of all. When the dream that once attracted millions starts to feel out of reach, it forces everyone to rethink what the future really looks like. Tell us your truth. Do you still believe in the American dream, or do you think it's fading away? We read every comment. And if you want more content that opens your eyes, subscribe now. It's just one click, but it helps us keep going strong. When you step back and look at all these signs together, a clear pattern begins to form. From skyrocketing housing costs to rising daily expenses, from hidden taxes to growing debt, the pressure on everyday Californians is no longer isolated, it's everywhere. Each issue alone is difficult, but combined, they create a system where even hard-working people are struggling just to maintain a basic standard of living. What makes this situation even more concerning is how deeply it affects both the present and the future. People are not just dealing with today's challenges, they're also losing confidence in what lies ahead. The idea of saving money, buying a home, or building long-term stability is becoming harder to achieve. And when those foundational goals start slipping away, it changes how people see their entire future. But this isn't just about numbers or statistics, it's about real lives. It's about families making tough choices, individuals pushing themselves to the limit, and communities slowly changing as more people leave or adapt. The dream hasn't disappeared completely, but it has definitely become more difficult, more distant, and more uncertain than before. So where does that leave us? For some, it means finding new ways to survive and adapt. For others, it may mean making the difficult decision to move on and start fresh somewhere else. But one thing is clear, something needs to change if the balance is ever going to be restored. The question now is not just, can people still afford to live in California? But, what kind of future are they really building if things continue this way?